Hi everyone, in today's video I will show you how to install Stable Diffusion with just simple one line of code. So if we go and take a look at this Stable Diffusion website at the Github, then the installation process is actually quite complex, or if you're not familiar with Python or anything like that. So this is the installation process for Windows. You need to install Python for this particular version, and then you need to install Git, and then the Python version have to be this because the newer version does not support Torch, and Python and Stable Diffusion actually need Torch to run it. And then we need to run this one, and finally we run this one to get a Stable Diffusion. So that is actually a little bit complex, and that's actually a very easy way to install Stable Diffusion with just one simple line of code. So let's take a look at what is Stable Diffusion first. This is the web UI of Stable Diffusion. Basically, the base of the Stable Diffusion is you can do text to image or image to image and all the other stuff. So this is the most basic one, text to image. So you put in a text, they come out with an image for you, just like Midjourney or Leonardo AI. But this is the most basic one. There's other extensions that can do better than this. And that is the most important part of Stable Diffusion, because you can install other add-ons like text-to-speech, lip syncing, or a bunch of other things. So think of Stable Diffusion as an iPhone. If you just purchase an iPhone, then all you have is the basic function of the iPhone. But within iPhone, you can install WhatsApp, you can install Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever app that you want. So that is the extension. Or think of it as a Windows system. If you purchase a PC with Windows 11 come in, that's the base of the window. You don't have any other thing, but if you want, you can install Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other stuff. So with that, let's get started with how to install this Stable Diffusion and get to this web UI with just one simple line of code. So from here, we click on the Start button. I believe this will be similar with the Windows 10, although I'm using Windows 11. And then we will just type Powershell. From here, we can see that the Powershell is here. The important step is to run the Powershell as an administrator. Then you open Powershell up, and all we need is one simple line of code. And this is the code that we actually need to auto install everything. Even if you don't have Python installed on your PC, the code will actually install it. And this code is actually open source. I'll post this code and all the other links in my YouTube description, so not to worry. And if we go and take a look at this website, which is the automatic1111, that's what they call it. So this is the website for the code that we are going to use, and this is actually the source code for it. So not to worry, these are all open source code. If you are familiar with it, then you can go through it. Basically, they'll check whether do you have this installed. If not, then they'll install for you. And along the way, they'll ask you a couple of questions. We'll usually take all the default setting. So let's get started. So with this code paste on the Powershell, I'm going to press enter and the installation will start. Once I press enter on this, so this will start the installation process, and they'll tell you that this is a automatic 1111 installer. From here, you're asked where do we want to install to. The default is always 1, that is under the C drive, TCHT. We definitely do not want to install on this current folder, which is the Windows/System32. So let's click on 1 and choose a default. And first they'll install the chocolate key, and then they'll start to install all the other stuff. And the whole process will actually take you about 30 to 45 minutes. That depends on how fast your internet connection is, because they are going to download everything. So we can see they are trying to install Jig now. And this is one of the requirements for the stable diffusion. Okay, while this is installing, let's take a look at what is my current setup. My current setup for my PC is I'm using an i9 10th generation, and the graphic card I'm using is RTX 3060 12 gig. You need a 8 gig to run a lot of things. Although you can install this stable diffusion with under 8 gig of GPU, if you have a 6 gig you can run it, but a lot of extension will require you at least 8 gig. So if you have anything that's less than 8 gig, and next time you try to install some extension, they might not work. And I have 32 gig RAM on board. So this is my PC setup. Now they are trying to download all this, so we'll just wait a while and prepare 30 to 45 minutes, or I would say give it an hour. If you don't have 1 hour to spare, then do it another time when you have that 1 hour to spare. Now they have downloaded certain thing and it's completed, and it is installing the CUDA, which is also a requirement. But all this is going to take some time. So there's some prompt they'll ask us during the installation. Do we want to install this CUDNN? Because I'm using a NVIDIA graphic card. But it say you need a NVIDIA account. Actually, you can just create a NVIDIA account. And this is for troubleshooting later. So I'm going to put no for now. That'll make it easier. And then now they are checking, do I have Python installed? Because I do not. Like I mentioned, this is a fresh install on this particular PC, so I don't have Python installed, and they'll start to install Python. And you can see on my desktop there's this icon over here that is being installed by the script itself. I will also be showing you how to uninstall the stable diffusion if you have decided not to use it for some other reason. How to actually do a clean uninstall of everything, because they are going to install a lot of things on your PC, and it actually take up about 30 gig of hard disk space. Then the next thing they ask, do you want to enable X format for extra speed? Yes, I would choose that. Do you have 8 gig of RAM? Like I mentioned, I do have 12 gig. So to check your graphic card, maybe you can just do a right click and choose Task Manager. Under the Task Manager, click on the Performance over here, which is the second one, Performance tab. And then you can see your CPU, all this. And we go to the graphic card over here. And I have a dedicated 12 gig, so which is more than 8 gig. So if you have less than 8 gig, just put no. And because I have 12 gig, I will just put yes. If you put no, then they will configure your system to use less VRAM. The next thing they ask is, do we want to share our web UI over the internet? That's something we don't want. And the default is also no. So I will just click no for this. And do we want to enable the API? Yes, definitely we want to enable this. We can see the default is yes. Do we want a desktop shortcut? A desktop shortcut will be put here. So yes, I want a shortcut. Even if you don't have the shortcut, it's easy to run it also. So the final step is that download the Stable Diffusion 1.5 model. Definitely yes. You may get an antivirus pop-up screen, so that is perfectly fine. Whichever antivirus that you are using, let it scan, let it run. You don't have to turn off your antivirus, because after a while, then your antivirus will detect that the file is clean and you can proceed normally. So we will just close my antivirus. So I'm using Avast. And they will start to download the Stable Diffusion 1.5 model and start to install from here. And how do we actually know when once the whole installation is completed? You actually get a IP address, which is a local IP address, which is 127.0.0.1:7860. When you see that, that means that the Stable Diffusion has been installed. So the Stable Diffusion has been installed, and now they are installing the torch. And the whole package is actually about 30 gig. That's why they are downloading all the different kind of version that is necessary to run this Stable Diffusion. Sometime during this process, your screen may get blackout for 1 or 2 seconds. That is perfectly fine. We are almost reaching the end of the installation, but there's a few other things, because once they say that they are installing the Stable Diffusion and torch, then we are towards the end. Okay, we are near to the end of the installation, because once you see this running on local URL 127.0.0.1:7860, that means we are at the end of the installation. We are at the end of the installation, so we can run it now. let's take a look at few other things first. The TCHT, this is where your stable diffusion is stored under. So the shortcut that they created for you is actually just a shortcut. So if you take a look, this is the web view user.bat. So actually you can run the stable diffusion from here or from the shortcut. Because I choose to create a shortcut, but just for your information, it is here. And the whole stable diffusion take me about 30 minutes to install from the time of recording this. So let's go to the website 127.0.1:7860. Most of the time you'll be this web address unless you have other Python and other stuff installed, then it may be a different address. And so now we have successfully installed this stable diffusion. Let's try. A man in red carrying a briefcase, maybe. And we click on generate, and we'll have this text to image, but this is the basic version of the text to image. And when we click on this run, actually on your Powershell here, you can see that your GPU is actually working on it. And now it have generated this. Of course, you can play with different prompt. The good thing about stable diffusion is actually the extension here. That is what we wanted, because these are the one that they have installed for us. And with this, you can install all the other different extensions that is available for stable diffusion. So we have all these extensions that you can just install it. And once you install any extension, it will be under here. So set Docker is a very popular one, but you may require a few steps other than just installing it, because set Docker require a checkpoint. I will do another video on this. So that's basically how you run it, the stable diffusion, with just one simple line of code. And if you close this, and when you close this box, that means they are not running the server. To run it, just double click on this one, and sometimes you may be hit with an error because you don't have the right permission on it. So if there's anything that needed to install, then the script will actually install for you. Now we are hit with the error. The current owner of this directory, TCHT, this stable diffusion directory, is owned by this user. I'm currently another user of this directory because this directory is owned by this, and I'm just another user of this directory. So to solve this problem, we have to go back to Powershell again. On the Powershell, always run it as administrator. Now there's two codes that we can give. If you are installing it to the default directory, then you can issue this line of code. Then you're just allowed access to this line of code. But if you choose to install it to a different directory, then you need to change the path. Or the other easier way is to just use this one. But this will open up all your C drive. because this is an asterisk. That means it's going to open up your C drive to all access. But that will be the easiest way, because I don't know which path you have installed it to your Stable Diffusion. So once this is command is issued, you will open up the whole path and we can run the Stable Diffusion shortcut again. Now we should have the server, which is a 127.0.0.1. When you see that, then you can open up your web browser. Whenever you run this script, they'll check for the Xformer. If there's a new version, then they'll update the Xformer. So we actually install the script with just one line. And if there's any problem, then we have to, after the whole installation, if there's a problem with the shortcut, then we have to run this script to allow the directory to be open. I'll post all this link in the description box below. So now we can see that the path is here. Then we can go to this website. So only when you see this prompt over here, then they have opened up the local server. Then you can come to this website of the Stable Diffusion. Now the next thing that I want to show you is how do we uninstall it. If you decide that Stable Diffusion is not for you, you don't like it, how do we actually uninstall all of this thing? The first thing to do is to go to your control panel, look for the program and features, or basically the add remove program or uninstall program. So these are the whole bunch of things that the script run and install for us up to, I think probably up to this point. From here, NVIDIA, all the way to CapCut, because CapCut I think is the last one that I install. Of course, Microsoft Edge, I think they add some extension to it. You can leave it. This one you can uninstall it. The Acrobat, I think they added something to it, but you can always uninstall the Acrobat and install again. That is the way to do a proper clean installation. So once you uninstall all this thing, you may want to take a screenshot, because if you are going to use it for a while and then 2 weeks later you decided to uninstall all of this thing, then you know what to uninstall. So take a screenshot of what is the changes in your PC. So after uninstalling all this, you can delete away these two shortcut, and then we go back to the C drive, the TCHT folder, delete away this folder, and then you will completely uninstall what I have shown you earlier on. That's all I have for you today. If you like the video, please subscribe and share. And I will see you on the next video. There'll be more video coming up. Thank you everyone, and have a nice day.